And now I teach university, and I have very spiffy, bright doctoral students, 2 of whom I invited to my class this week, because one has been very involved in the Occupy movement, and the other one is very involved in protest music as a form of spirituality. So they're giving their talks, it's very good, and I'm infinitely proud of them. And I turn at one point and I say, wow, what's the vision behind this? And they both kind of frown and say, well, what do you mean? I said, vision, what's the vision? Oh, we don't have vision, we don't like vision, we talk about goals. So I said, well, what about meaning? Oh, we don't do meaning, that's a form of fascism. So I said, well, tell me what vision is. Well, that's just, the quest for vision is a form of inner fascism. So I thought, oh goodness. So after the class, I took them out for lunch and I said, okay, educate me on what the hell you're talking about. So they did. So I learned a whole lot of new things this week, and I'm bringing them to you because they live in a very different intellectual world than I live in. Very different. They are definitely not interested in foundational thinking, so visions are not based on foundational thinking for them. So if you're interested, these are the intellectuals they work with: Spivak, Deleuze, Butler, Ronell, and a whole bunch of others. So we have to know the world is filled with youth activism is on the rise all over the world, and they're using new and very different intellectual currents. So they would say they don't talk about vision, meaning, ethics, hope. They talk about goals. And they talk about the desire for meaning is wanting a foundational base that's secure, and there isn't one. The desire for vision is for certitudes, and there isn't certitudes. And that we have to navigate a deep inner terrain of insecurities and our desire for security. And they talk about vision as a form of totalitarianism. So it's a very interesting intellectual landscape that they live in. And they will talk about, for example, the war on terror. Now, the war on terror, well, I'm sure you know all about it, I'm not going to say a lot about it, but what they would say is that terror has to be imagined and ideologically constructed before you can have a war on it. So they look very carefully at the construction of words and meanings and what words mean, what is the ideological impact, whose interests are they? So they're very, very savvy. So after a while I said, well, you know, come on, you have to have some structure, something, you know, give me something to work with. So they use this language, rhizomes. This is the language, this is the intellectual landscape for many. And this is the base of the Arab Spring, and this is the base of the Occupy movement. Images of thought, non-hierarchical. They are not linear in history. They want multiplicity. They want different exit and entry points. They resist what they call arborescence. So this is the image of the tree that's got roots and a trunk, and it's got stability, and it works by moving things up, and you're somewhere on the tree. And they say that is an image of totalitarianism. What they want is rhizomes. And rhizomes are this interconnected, very strong web. And this is, they say, how they're going to talk about knowledge. So religions are problematic because they want foundations. So they're problematic already. Spirituality, however, is not. So this is the group. This is the intellectual terrain, and I think we need to learn from them. I think something very major is happening in intellectual shifts. And this is what they call, these are some of the values of the rhizomes. It's collaborative. Did any of you go to any of the Occupy sites? So it's very interesting. When one person speaks, then maybe 50 feet later, this is repeated and repeated and repeated. So they want equity. They want equity. There's not leaders. There are no leaders. And it's not anarchy and it's not chaos. It's something new. It's rhizomes. It's very, very interesting what they're up to. Open source, democracy. Now, I know there are limits to this, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention because I think that is a form of ordering the world today. And what it is it's very non-hierarchical, both in terms of knowledge and in terms of structure. So this is a map of what's going on. So this is where there were demonstrations of the three different kinds. It's not a small thing, what's going on in the world. So this is the map of young people, or some young people, or people who care deeply about the world. So these are young people who care about the world, who are willing to put their lives on the line, who are willing to take time out of their careers, or take time out of, or in countries that are very impoverished or under military regimes, they are putting their lives on the line. So this is a form of spiritual energy. This is a zest for life. This is something very powerful going on. And this is another ordering of the world. So these are all visions, right? So that's their vision. Then there's this vision. And then there's this vision. So when we're questing for a new vision, what vision are we going to use? What image of the world are we going to use? So this is the second set of insights, completely different from the rhizomes, that I think is worth attending to for our spiritual quest for a just and sustainable future. I think we are only just beginning to understand what science has been bringing forth in the 20th century. So if any of you have paid attention to Thomas Berry, this is very much him. We have understood so many new things about the breadth and depth of reality in the 20th century. It's just absolutely astonishing. So if we're going to look at time, 13.7 billion years of cosmic process. No, that's extraordinary. So I want you to think about this and think about the Christian tradition, and where are their bridges? Just think about that. If we say Earth, 4.6 billion years of Earth dynamic processes. I took a sabbatical a few years ago and I spent the year studying evolution, and I don't think you can do another thing that's more spiritually awakening than study science. I think it's extraordinary. If you think that it rained for 300 million years to create the oceans, now that staggers the human imagination. If we think about any of the eras of life on Earth, including our own, the ingenuity, the creativity, the complexity, the diversity, these are Earth processes. These are processes that are without us. They don't need us. We're not involved in them. We emerged from them. And that's a very key insight. We emerged from them. I often have pondered the dinosaurs. So when my daughter was young, we read the books on the dinosaurs, and by the time she was 5, she stopped reading the dinosaurs, but I didn't. I started learning about the dinosaurs, and I realized nobody over 5 knows anything about dinosaurs. And yet, dinosaurs, they also were dominant, all different species of dinosaurs for 300 million years. We're talking about an extremely successful creatures, extremely successful species. We have been around maximum 2 million as some form of hominid and as Homo sapiens for 500,000 years, and only for 100,000 years have we had this kind of symbolic consciousness that we have now. Like on the time scale, we're not very old. We're very successful as a species, at least part of us is very successful. We're quite autistic that we emerged from the Earth and belong to and require the Earth for our future. But we're very, very savvy in many ways, but we're very new. So we're part of the Cenozoic, and I often think if this comet, this meteorite had not hit the Yucatan Basin and not wiped out the dinosaurs, maybe symbolic consciousness would have evolved in reptiles and not in mammals. So I'm not sure why we're here in this incredible cosmic process, but we are a very savvy, sensitive creature with an enormous capacity to imagine. So what happens when we start with these reference points? What happens? Cosmology and evolution. Well, in my view, if we're going to talk about a just and sustainable future, it's not our religious traditions that are the reference points. It's this. These are more significant reference points. It changes our horizon of meaning. It makes us realize the Earth is not our context. It's not the drama the background to the human drama. It's not the drawing on the stage, it's actually our source, and that we are a member of a dynamic earth community. And that is not Pollyannish. It's actually true. We are embedded in, emerged from, belong to this earth. So it emphasizes a continuity between humans and the natural world and earth processes. Unlike the Christian tradition that overall emphasizes a discontinuity between the humans and the earth community, this emphasizes a continuity. I think it arouses spirituality as a zest for life. It awakens us. It awakens wonder and reverence. It awakens humility. It awakens aesthetics and ethics. And it, above all, awakens gratitude. So it becomes a spiritual imperative, a re-enchantment with the earth. So on the one hand, we've got the rhizomes, and on the other hand, we have science. And there are other sources, but those are the two that I'm mentioning today. So, whoops, an ecological era. In conclusion, we need new thinking. I think Einstein is totally right. Problems cannot be solved at the level of consciousness in which they're created. We need new thinking. I think both of these inspire a moral imagination, and they both awaken spirituality. The idea that we have one earth, many peoples, many cultures, many animals, many life forms, and many religions. I think we have to get serious about evolution and understand that we belong here, we are sustained by here, that our life as given is here. In my view, we need to pay an enormous amount of attention to the natural world, and this is both educates our sensibilities, but if you ever read Meister Eckhart, he said that all he had to do was study one caterpillar and he would never have to hear another sermon again. So that's kind of enticing, you know? Spirituality becomes not only a dimension of us, but a dimension of earth, a dimension of cosmic processes. Spirituality is, as Teilhard de Chardin would say, it's embedded. We live in a divine milieu. We also need ecological literacy. We need to learn and understand natural systems. And I just want to say, we always also need to stand in front of mystery. We always need to say, what do we know? How much do we know? And how do we know it? And if you think that we are merged from this planet in this solar system. So we are in one solar system, but our solar system is only one solar system in the galaxy of the Milky Way. And the Milky Way is one galaxy in 170 billion other galaxies. And I think we have to ponder this and think, is really our Christian tradition the reference point for all of that, or is all of that the reference point for us? It's not about abandoning it, it's about situating it. So I think we need to ponder these things, to ponder the horizon. And I think we need to think about what Rachel Carson says. The more clearly we can focus our attention on the wonders and realities of the universe about us, the less taste we shall have for destruction. So I think we need a change of reference points. So here's the Earth, but from the moon. And this is a picture from the Hubble telescope of galaxies colliding. There are many other major realities with a great deal of energy going on elsewhere. And that should help us keep us humble and spiritually awake. Thank you very much.